drive through the gates.
Get ready.
As surprised and delighted as I was to see Onrush's announcement at Paris Games Week last year, what I wasn't expecting was to be so thoroughly surprised by the gameplay itself. To all outward appearances, Codemasters Evo was returning to the bombastic style of off-road racing that they had excelled at through the PlayStation 3's life with Motorstorm, back when they were known as Evolution Studios and part of Sony. Onrush is not that, it is something else entirely. In fact, I'd say that if you expected Evo to toe the line with the arcade racing genre in almost any way, then you'll be in for a real shock. Onrush is something entirely new, it's bold, and it basically grabs other genres by the ankles, turns them upside down, and sees what falls out of their pockets, taking those ideas and using them as inspiration. At the heart of the entire game is what Evo called the Stampede. In essence, this is the congested pack of cars, trucks and bikes all battling ferociously to come out on top, a mixture of real opponents and dumb AI fodder that are merely there to feed your combo and fill your rush meter. The entire game is built around staying within this pack as opposed to trying to get out front or catch up. What Onrush brings because of this is crashes. Just as in Motorstorm and Burnout, the best way to beat your opponent is often to smash them into the scenery that you're racing past, turning them into scrap metal as you cackle with delight and head off into the distance. But what Onrush does differently is that it then spawns that loser back in with the rest of the pack, going at 100 miles per hour and getting them straight back into the action. You might take someone out, but then they come back to get revenge just 5, 10, 15 seconds later. The Stampede lends itself brilliantly to the handful of 6v6 team-based game modes that take deep inspiration from other games and genres. Overdrive is the most freeform as you score points through crashing into the fodder, making big jumps, pulling tricks and taking out your opponents, while Countdown is the most race-like, spinning the classic arcade race against the clock into a collective team effort as each racer tries to get through each and every time gate to keep your team's time meter filled. Switch then takes arcade racing and adds in a dash of gun game as you try to take down opponents with each of the 8 vehicle classes, while Lockdown is basically King of the Hill, where the hill, which we will call Damon for the purposes of this example, is going at 100 miles per hour. Team-based play and objective game modes in a racing game are fascinating ideas, and the Stampede and the rate at which Onrush throws you back into the action is excellent, but if you take these things to the extreme, then that brings with it a lot of risks. And here's the thing, Onrush doesn't have a straight-up race. It's madness, it's blasphemy even, and it does make me worry that Evo are taking a huge gamble here that they don't actually need to. On the one hand, you have games like Overwatch that have become hugely successful despite not having first-person shooter staples like Team Deathmatch and Capture the Flag, but then you also have Dawn of War 3, which is a strategy game that fell off the map partly because of its lack of a straight-up deathmatch mode. The good news here is that if you actually play Onrush, then its non-stop action is rather engrossing. You're constantly looking to take big jumps, smash into other cars, and this all charges up your rush meter. This is unique for each vehicle, building a class-based game where you can have different roles in your team. The Bruising Enforcer, for example, is built like a heavy racing truck. It has the special ability of shutting down an opponent's boost when you bump into them, while taking down fodder charges up your rush faster, before you can then unleash the Blackout Ultimate, which blinds those that are following you. Then there's the Vortex that can leave a wake of turbulent air behind it, the Blade motorbike that lays down a deadly trail of flame behind, while Dynamo then supports others by building up their boost, and Titan shields allies and leaves light wall barriers behind that slows those following. The team play aspect is amplified even further by the way that a match is seamlessly constructed of several different rounds. As you hit the score limit, you just keep on racing and jostling for position, and the next round starts just a few moments later. All of your rush charge is preserved between rounds, and it's actually built up on a per vehicle basis, which you can switch between whenever you're taken down. That means that you can actually strategize, adapt to the other team, hold off on using your ultimates until the next round, and so on. It's a little taste of Overwatch, but in a racing game. Tying the action together is a reactive soundtrack created by Ninja Tune that takes different variations of each track and blends them together depending on the situation and the action that is on screen. You get a different mix if you're winning, losing, getting some massive airtime, and then it's interspersed with some of thousands of lines of DJ dialogue from over a dozen different characters that drop in to note something like a critical takedown or just the fact that you died and clearly suck. The variety and the incidental way in which these are thrown in mean that they shouldn't grate like the racing game DJs of the past. While it's all about the team racing and online play with the standard cosmetic-filled loot boxes up for grabs, these loot boxes have wheels on though, which is obvious because it's a racing game. There is also a single-player superstar campaign to work through with 90 events that put you into different vehicles to try and win against certain opposition in certain game modes and on certain maps. The game modes are all the same here, and basically you're playing the same game whether you're online or offline, but with the game being built around team play, it's a nice touch for Evo to extend this to having 6-player co-op in the game. Onrush is, to put it in a single word, unexpected. Moving away from the need to be the first across the finish line is the fascinating one, and blending in overtones of competitive multiplayer games from across the spectrum leads to a truly unique racer. This is a risky game, certainly, but it's one that I really hope pays off. And having gone hands-on, I think it's one that almost deserves to pay off, bringing something new and interesting to the arcade genre which hasn't really taken that next step in a long time. Thanks as ever for checking out our video. We've got more about Onrush over on the sixthaxis.com, including an interview with Codemasters Evo's Paul Roshinsky, so head over there and check that out. But before you go, please do like, subscribe and share this video with others. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. Goodbye!
Go!